Welcome to the Across the Ponds WNBA podcast, Across the Pond Liberty. I'm Stacia.
And I'm Kirstin.
All right, so first off, before we get started, I just want to say that I forget how time works, and I kept saying that the game was going to be at 9 o'clock that the Liberty played today against Connecticut when it was at 11, because I'm in Central Time, and I went backwards instead of going to Eastern Time. Still, we did have an 11 a.m. game today, and then I said about how it's got to be Boys and Girls Club, and I think I knew this, but I just was like, oh, they have to have all the kids there. Oh, of course it is. It's camp day around the W where there's 5 games, and it was one of those where I'm like, I think I knew this, but in my head, I just said the wrong stupid thing, so it's always good to give myself a moment of levity and just talk about how dumb that is when I knew better, but, oh well. But instead of getting to the happy times, which was today's game against Connecticut, we're going to start off with some sadness. I'm just going to say that I was correct in saying that the Liberty were going to go 1-1 this week. It just wasn't the team that I thought that they were going to lose to.
No.
The Liberty go into Indianapolis, and as Kirstin said, in a game that she can watch during prime time because it was in the afternoon on Saturday, and have a nice little lead in the last 4 minutes against the Fever and decide to let their little sisters come back and just don't have an answer and lose 83-78 against the Fever, which was the first time the Fever had beaten the Libs since I believe it said on the stat chart, like on the scroll during the game, May of 2022. So it's been a while since the Fever have gotten a win. And I will also add that last year, the 4th time we played the Fever, Aaliyah Boston hit a 3 to tie it, to send it to overtime, and then we dominated the overtime. So the Fever were close last year, but they got the job done this year. So, yeah, Fever, 83-78. Caitlin Clark gets her first ever triple-double, the first ever triple-double by a rookie, and she got it with 7 minutes left to go in the 4th quarter when she got that third rebound in the 4th quarter, and just had one amazing stat line. But I think the stat line that we were both talking about and was just how the Liberty just did not seem to want to play transition defense, and the Fever just tore them apart, pushing the ball up the court. It felt like the whole game, at least in the first quarter, specifically, it was just. I'm gonna use my word. I'm gonna use abysmal.
Abysmal. Yeah, absolutely. No, the start of the game, Fever just came out all guns blazing. They were absolutely pacing up the court in the very start of that first quarter. The game starts 8-0 start for the Fever, which is quite crazy. We tend to be a pretty strong team in terms of our kind of first quarter starts. And first 5 points were Caitlin Clark as well. She just came out. They just looked tough. They looked like they had a point to prove. Caitlin certainly had a point to prove that night, as we found out in that 4th quarter.
I said she wasn't gonna score. She was gonna score more than 3 points in the game. She only scored 3 last time, and she was like, "I'm gonna score 3 points in 2 minutes," or 5 points in 2
literally,
minutes. Yeah. And I was just like, "Girl, stop!" That's what I thought that first quarter. Girl, stop! But yeah, Fever kept dominating.
Yeah, and both teams, in fact, were just like super offense focused in that. I think like Liberty throughout the game, yes, but particularly in that first quarter, it just felt like it was basket and then basket again and then basket again. It was just they were just going back to back scoring on each other. There wasn't really any defensive play going on. There wasn't really any the offense was just allowed to run smoothly, and that's exactly why the Fever just like kicked off so strong. They were just allowed to run up the court. There was no transition defense like what we said at the start. And they were just pushing the ball and just getting easy shots that they just should not have been getting at the very start.
It was, and then the Liberty get down by 12 points. Like, Fever had a nice big lead, and it made me regret saying, well, we're just going to go in there and beat the children because, I was like, I said, they're not children, they're young women. But Little Sisters had a game. It was frustrating. That's what I would say. Frustrating. And you could see the frustration on the Libs' faces, but they gathered themselves, and at least in the second quarter, came back. They're down by 1 at halftime. So I'm like, okay, cool. So we've had great first quarters this whole year and then dropped off in the second quarter. Didn't have a great first quarter, but still got it within 6 after getting down 12, and then get to 1 point, and then take the lead in the third quarter, and then don't relinquish the lead till the fourth quarter. And and then again, little sister was killing us in the fourth quarter, 28-16. And I just think it's interesting because if you would have said that the Fever scored 52 points in 2 quarters, I would have not believed you against them, even though I know they can. But 52 points, and especially it being the first quarter and the last quarter, they punched him in the mouth to start the game, and then at the end, kind of like hung around. Liberty kept him on the ropes, and then the Fever started punching back, and then just started killing him. Especially when Kelsey Mitchell hit her only 2 threes in the fourth quarter that were huge momentum shifts. Because Caitlin started out the first quarter and then had a couple points like in the fourth, but it was Kelsey Mitchell, I thought, that kind of like those 2 threes just amplified everything. But it was a whole team scoring in that fourth quarter, and that was what I believe was the most impressive. The Fever had such a good team fourth quarter, and then just didn't go away. And I think they just wanted it in front of that crowd because they've been on the road for a little bit. And that was one of those aspects of the game that the Liberty did not respond to well. Was everybody scoring in that crowd?
Yeah, no, 100%, and I think the crowd had also been anticipating that this Caitlin Clark triple double was coming up. I think it was, I want to say it was Connecticut. I actually can't
I
remember.
got you. It was is Phoenix. They came back and beat
Phoenix.
Phoenix, and she was 1 rebound short.
Yeah,
1 rebound short of the
exactly.
triple double. Yep.
So I think it was kind of like on everybody's mind, and they were really hoping that she was finally gonna get that triple double, and set that record. And it came to the fourth quarter. She was so close to it, and the stadium was just amped up. Everyone was so hyped. Every time they were scoring, you could feel the momentum building. And then yeah, Kelsey Mitchell coming out, she was clutch in that game, and yeah, I just you have to also give your creds to Caitlin Clark because like that is such an incredible feat. It's so annoying that it had to be against the Liberty of
Yep.
all
Thanks a
teams.
lot,
Like
girl.
yeah, I know. Like you want to support the success, but like pick a different team.
Pick a different team. Pick a
Pick a
different
different
team. I
team.
mean, yeah. Psh,
Yeah,
little sister.
but no, just like it was just a really frustrating game to play. Just like to play. Yes, I was there. I was playing. Um, just a frustrating game to watch, and just like when you have beaten this team so many times and you've killed them so many times, um, to have such a tight game and to just see the frustration building up between players. Oh, it's not what you want to see.
No. Well, and then I think it was interesting because Christy Sides, Melissa Smith got a foul like right at the start of the third quarter. Kept her in. It was her 4th foul. And then we didn't attack her the way that we should have. Melissa Smith ended the game with 4 fouls. And she had it like early in the third quarter. Hey everybody, this is a note we need to take. Go at her. She played most of that second half with those 4 fouls. Like I think she played 29 minutes overall. So she had 3 in the first half, so she sat more in that one. And then the second half is like, you got to figure this out. And she did, but we didn't attack her. And she was the one like on the plus minus difference of when you're in the game. She had the biggest plus difference for Indiana. It was plus 22 when she was in the game. So why didn't we attack her? That's attack her. Attack her. Like
Yeah.
I don't know what to do. Like, do we need to like figure out a way to get her frustrated? Do we need to have like Dijonay over there talking to her on the sideline? I don't know. I don't know, but we need to do something to like get to Melissa, and we didn't. And she had 11 rebounds and 12 points. Aaliyah Boston had 8 rebounds and 18 points. So their post players combined for 30 points and 19 rebounds. Let's just do a little comparison to our post players. John Quell had 6 points and 12 rebounds. Stewie had 6 rebounds and 14 points. So little sisters beat us up in the post when we
Yeah.
only had 18 rebounds and then 20 points. So they beat us by 1 rebound, but yeah, 1 rebound and 10 points. It was not just Caitlin's double or triple double. The kids
Yeah.
the kids were doing it, and I'm just gonna keep calling them the kids because, I mean, yeah, because then the kids turned around today and lost to the Mystics, who are one of the teams at the bottom of the league, even though they're better than the record is. But I'm gonna be like, "Kids, you just had a good game. You just beat number 1, and then you turn around
Yeah.
and did that." But,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, Nalissa and Aaliyah, I think they're figuring it out.
Yeah, and one thing on from our Liberty specific side as well that I was a bit disappointed in this game is that we didn't see more minutes from Fibic. So she only had 6 minutes in this game, 2 points, 1 assist, and I just felt, especially with us having, I mean, we only had 8 players that played in total in that game. Um, I feel like Fibic should have got more minutes. I think she's been putting up pretty decent numbers. She's been really performing well for the team. I mean, she was starting just like a couple games back, when Vandersloot and Laney were out, and I would have just liked to see her play a bit more. I know, when she was on the court, she was helping mark Caitlin Clark, and it's tough because I mean, despite Phoebe being so tall and being so long, for lack of a better word, Caitlin Clark was still just pulling up and scoring in her face, and it's kind of like it is tough to see, and it's tough when you have someone who is as versatile as Phoebe, who still is struggling to guard this player. But I just would have loved to see her have a few more minutes because I do feel like there was some underperformance on other parts of the roster, and just you know give more minutes to our
Yeah.
European girl.
Yeah, and you're just gonna hang out with those Europeans.
Of
I'm gonna
course.
throw out someone that had a good game that I think should have gotten the ball more because she didn't, I think, get isolated enough was Benija. She had 20 points, and she was like the only person that shot well this whole game because it was horrible the shooting. But Nija was 8 of 14 and 4 of 10 for three, and at one point, I think she was 4 of 8, and she had to put up the 2 at the end to try to, like, tie it, but I feel like she was playing well, and I wish we would've isolated her more, and Sabrina started off, like, shot well, but then had to force up threes at the end, but still didn't shoot over 50%, but besides the transition defense, at times when we got back, it was good, but the key pretty much in this game was we shot ridiculously bad from the three-point line. And then not only did we shoot poorly from the three-point line, decided to keep shooting from the three-point line. It wasn't working very well. You're sitting at 10 of 42, under 24% from the three-point line. So what do? Let's put up some more. Stop it. Like, and I know that we shoot threes and the average is about 30 a game. I'm good with 30. It should
Yeah,
not be 40 when you're not making them. No, just
yeah,
hard no. This wasn't the Phoenix game where everybody was making them, and we still lost that game even though we made some. We need more mid-range. Yeah,
yeah.
just hard nose on those shooting.
100% agree. I mean, we have obviously Sabrina. I understand, like she is such an incredible 3 point shooter, and she's kind of made that name for herself in the W so far. But I do feel like the team sometimes starts to rely a lot more on the 3 point shot than maybe they should, because naturally, like a 3 point shot is quite an inconsistent shot. It's the most inconsistent shot from your free throws and your closer field goals. So it's tough to be, yes, such like a highly successful 3 point shooting on a good day, but then when you begin to rely on that, and that begins to be when you make that transition up the court, that's your first option. You see that so often. Transition threes are becoming like quite quite a common occurrence on our team. And I just think, like, I know it's the WNBA, but if I was playing a game and I was on transition and pulled up and shot a three, I would be benched, because that's just it's not sensible decision making. It's not okay. You
No
have
one's there to
probably
rebound it.
and
No
no one's
one's
there
there to
to
rebound
rebound it.
it. Yeah.
Exactly. And you have probably 30% chance of that going in, depending on how good a shooter you are. I just like I don't. I can't get behind it, to be honest with you, and yeah, I just think it's that, like, we've begun to rely so much on that three-point shot, especially with us being like, so well performing in that aspect last season, to now we have, like, Brianna Stewart, who's 0 from 5, she's not having a good three-point shooting season, so it's
It's
difficult to then have to try and readjust your play.
Yeah. Stewie is shooting under 24% this year from behind the three-point line. And we're gonna get to Stewie making an adjustment today, compared to Saturday. But, besides shooting and needed to have even though we had more fast break points, but it's different in fast break points in transition defense where everybody's even, because we had more fast break points. But transition defense, they were pushing it and just did well. They out rebounded us by 10. So they shot a little bit better and they out rebounded us by 10. Everything else, we were better. Everything else. Or we were even with them on assist. We had less turnovers. We had more steals. We had less fouls. I think they had one more block than us. That's a whoop de doo. But 10 rebounds and you shot better, when the game ends up being 5 points, I'm pretty sure that those rebounds are going to result in one of them was, oh, and then one of the turnovers, JJ was mad at the end of the game that she wasn't getting called for a foul. And then she started to pass out, and Boston got a hold of it, stole the ball, and that was Kelsey Mitchell's first 3-pointer. So
Yep,
that's
yep,
a,
yep.
yeah, man, like, we're not beating them by 30 right now. Like, we got to stay in it. And speaking of staying in it, even though we were up by 10 when this happened, someone that we love, that we have both said has been way more mature, and I think today the announcer called her patient and just kind of like getting better. Literally said to ref, call an effing foul, and then got the technical. And technical was only one shot, and she did exactly what my father used to say. If you're going to get a technical, do it when the other team has the ball because you don't lose possession. So she made the shot, and then the other team had possession. So we didn't lose possession. But Sabrina gets a technical for yelling, and that was in the fourth quarter. It wasn't like a huge momentum shift, but definitely was taken out of it. And there were a couple moments that we checked out in that fourth quarter, and Indiana never checked out. So, what were your thoughts on Sabrina's technical and the blatant words that we could read from her lips when they did
Yeah.
the slow mo thing, which is always fun. We know what they say. Yeah, you
Yeah,
can get away
I
with it on ABC and Disney as long as it's in a basketball game and it's muted. But yeah, we know what she's saying.
yeah, I always find that funny when they do the replays and you can just see exactly what the player is saying and the commentators are there like they don't know what to say because they're supposed to be very, PG. um but yeah, I can understand like the frustration was there throughout the entire game. It was evident. They knew they should be beating the Fever and they just let them start easy. I mean, they let them go on an 8-0 run in the first quarter right off the bat, and then we lose by 5 points. If you'd have just, not let them go on that run just from the get go, foot on the gas, you know, so I can understand the frustration for the entire remainder of the game. I mean, that sets the tone. Um, I do feel like in parts of that game there were some not questionable calls, but just lack of calls that I was a bit like, okay, but it's to be expected, that at the end of the day, the game's supposed to flow and you don't want the refs to be constantly stop starting the game. Like there is some discretion with your foul calls. So I can understand it. And I think when I was watching, I was like, yeah, okay, I get it, Sabrina, I get it. Like it's frustrating. You want the call. I but we spoke about this previously about like trying to keep your head in the game, and I do just think in a game like this where you're the experienced team, you guys are the vets, you have so many, Olympic players and all-stars on the team. You're supposed to be setting the tone for these younger players, for this younger team and these rookies. Um and I just think to let a team like the Fever, and no disrespect to them, but to let a team like the Fever so evidently get to your head, I just think that Sabrina should have known better in that specific game. Um, it's tough to handle because like frustration's frustration, and I'm personally like that as well when I play. I really struggle to just, shut up basically and stop complaining. So like I can understand it, but I just think if I'm putting myself in Sabrina's shoes and I'm playing against a younger team, a much more inexperienced team, I'm the vet, I'm the all-star, I'm the Olympian. I just I just don't, it doesn't sit right with me. I just think you need to be setting the example, and also just to let them know so blatantly, you guys are getting in my head. You guys are the rookies. You guys are, on a lesser like competitive level than me, and you guys are getting to my head. I just think it doesn't. I don't really agree with it, but I understand it's so difficult to control.
I mean, and she did it with they were up by 10, and then Caitlin makes a
Yeah.
free throw, they're up by 9, and then I don't think Indiana scored on that possession, so it wasn't like a big swing, but it was something that's like, "Oh, we're in there," like you said.
Yeah.
So question that's completely off topic. We are 2 very different people with win up and all kinds of things. I don't really see you really losing it that much. So, who do you think between the 2 of us would have been most likely to get a technical in a game? Who do you think is
Ooh.
most likely to get a technical or more games? I'm curious.
Oh, this is tough. So yeah, I think I do think I present myself in a very specific way, and I've had a lot of people say this to me. Um, I had one coworker actually, maybe like half a year ago, who came up to me and said, "I bet you are very loud and aggressive when you play sport because you're so like content and composed and otherwise." But if my teammates were listening to this, they would be laughing because I am not very composed when I play basketball. um,
So your vote
I've
is you.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I get away with it though.
you get
Like
away with it?
I don't
Yeah.
think the amount of texts I've had is equal to how many texts I deserved. To be honest with you,
Oh, there you go.
um, yeah.
Yeah, I've gotten 2 in summer basketball and 1 in high school. So I haven't gotten that much, but also when I was in high school, when I was playing like my junior and senior year, we had younger kids that were way more hot-headed than me. So I had to keep it for them, even though I got a technical, and I was the only one that, even though 2 of them should have at least gotten a couple, and my mom will tell you about one of them. She still remembers it, and she's still mad about it. Um, but I got one technical in high school, and my friend from another team was watching the game, and she had no idea that I got it because she was like, "What did she do?" Like, it was that like, I was shocked. So when you say something like, "Should have gotten more," there's other times I could have gotten some, but, I had to keep it together, and I also, when I was in high school, was officiating basketball on the weekends, and so some of the refs that officiated our high school games were people I worked with on the weekends, so I
Yeah.
could kind of
Okay.
say stuff to them, like, off to the side or kinda be like, "John, what was that?" Like, "There's no way that
Yeah.
happened," or "Al," like, so I had a different kind of, like, idea of that, so I now if I in the summer ball, I cussed out a ref because my teammate had a bloody nose and they didn't call anything, and they didn't even call it technical on me. That's how bad they were. I should have been thrown out of the game for
So
what I
bad.
was saying to this dude, and it was one of those things where I'm like, "You were so bad, you're not even gonna give me a technical," and I told him exactly what I thought. So I had way more F bombs than Sabrina did in that because my friend's nose was bloodied up to the point where I wanted
Fair
to,
enough.
like, kick the guy in the leg and throw the ball at his face. So, I mean,
You gotta back up your team.
yeah.
I
It's
just
like
yeah. I find that I do find it interesting to see like the change of personality when someone plays sport, but I really just think for me, I went so many years. I've been playing basketball since I was 4. I'm now 21, so you can do the math. That's like that's a long time that I've been
I'm
playing.
pretty sure
Um,
you can figure out that 17 years. I think you can do that math.
yeah,
I think you're
but I
good at
didn't want to
math, yeah.
embarrass myself on air.
Yeah, there
Um,
you go.
I I did a languages degree, not a maths degree, but
Yeah.
Yeah, I find it so interesting, and I just think for me, I went so many years when I was younger of just being such a hothead that I was struggling to try and find how else to channel that energy. And now when I'm playing, I pose myself as probably a bit of like a Draymond Green kind of. Other teams really hate playing against me because I am just gonna talk smack to you. I'm gonna taunt you. If I score a three in your face, I'm gonna hold the follow through and I'm gonna stare you down, kind of thing. I think if
Okay.
I don't channel that into like, you know, kind of like boasting at the other team and getting under their nerves, then it's gonna get on my nerves and then I'm gonna get tagged. I'm gonna play bad.
No. I could
So
tell you that, yeah, I knew most of the people I played against, so I would just talk to them. I mean, we're both talking right now, so that makes it nice, but if you talk to any of my friends that I played sports against, many of whom I still am in contact with, I was always talking. And then in softball, I was a catcher, so I'd always talk to the batters. And because I'd umpired softball, I knew what I could get away with, which was legal in the rules. So they would be so mad all the time. So I was
yeah.
definitely the teammate that you want that you don't want to play against because I would annoy the crap out of you. So, but then I did play
There
tennis,
you go.
and the first year I played tennis, my racket at the end of the year was not good. You got beat, but there's no one to officiate. So if you just hit your racket, no one's gonna do anything in tennis because
Yeah.
we called our own stuff. And then when I got older, because my rackets were more expensive, I did not beat them.
Yeah.
And then I would just take a ball and just hit it against the back of the fence. So it's nice when you have a weapon to hit something with, which you can't hit anyone else with. So that's what's good
Yeah.
about tennis. You can hit things. And then when you're rich in tennis, then you can break your racket. And that's always good. It's
Yeah.
good to break a racket. Yeah. If I had money and had multiple rackets, I would break a decent amount of rackets. But then I would calm down. But yeah, sometimes you just gotta break one to feel better. Good. So I'm happy that we established that you are not as sweet as you seem. So that makes me
No.
happy.
No, no, no. Yeah.
So today, our second game of the day, our second game of this week that we're going to cover right now, Connecticut versus New York. Now, I've talked a lot of crap about how we own Connecticut. I did not think we were going to win this game. And first quarter, do really well. Go back to what the Liberty have done this year. 29-19 at the end of the first quarter, and then lose the second quarter by 9, have a 1 point lead at half, barely win the third quarter, and then barely lose the fourth quarter to still pull out a 71-68 victory to have sole possession of first place in the W right now with that 1 game lead over the Sun. But more importantly, we play the Sun 4 times in the year. And because this could be even to get home court advantage, we need to beat the season series to get like a higher seed against the Sun. So we're up 2-0. So no matter what happens, the rest of the year against all kinds of games, it's huge for us to get a 2-0 over the Sun. Play them on Tuesday, which is going to be scary before the Olympic break. But we only have to win one out of the next two against the Sun to have that head-to-head lead before we go to the playoffs. Because we both know that these teams are going to be in the playoffs and fighting for a championship. But this is a huge game that they pulled out, especially after losing to the kids. And I'm going to throw out one more thing. Indiana, I know you're not kids, you're grown women. You could grind me into a pulp if anyone is listening. You would hurt me so much. I would have my body broken. Being around any of you, anything that you do is way better than anything I could dream of doing. But you're young, so you're kids. That is not how I actually feel about you. Just want to throw that out there. People and the Indiana Fever fans, because we know that Indiana Fever fans are now Caitlin Clark fans, which means you guys can be scary. And trust me, I am a
Yeah.
little scared. And I hope you make the playoffs. But I'm still mad that you beat us. But today's game against Connecticut. What were your thoughts?
I would yeah, I respect that. You need to cover your back.
I do. I could
Yeah,
die.
I
Yeah.
you could. Yeah, we started we on the converse from our game against the Fever, we started off strong. I was feeling confident going into it. I thought that we had a very dominant flow at the start of that game. We were calling the plays, we were setting the pace, and Connecticut were struggling. They had some good looks, and then it just kind of started feeling like like we were just scoring loads. We were making good plays. And Connecticut just couldn't get a shot to drop essentially. So yeah, first quarter good. Second quarter, it's what I've been saying this season, not great. 19-10 in the second quarter to the Connecticut Sun.
10.
Um, yeah, 10-10. I know. For
Ugh.
the league leaders, 10.
Ugh.
Oh, I know. But we stuck it out. A bit. It was a tense watch, and it was also quite frustrating as well because you start off so strong and you kind of set the pace and you can set that kind of dominance early on. Um, to then kind of take your foot off the gas. We need to just work on keeping the momentum going. Just keep
Yep.
the momentum going because we had them. They were choking in that first quarter. Um, yeah, but still,
It-
excite. It makes for an exciting game.
the
But
kids got a good game, as in the kids that were in the crowd that are actually kids that
yes,
got to watch. The real kids got a really good game to watch.
yeah,
Yeah. Well,
100%.
well, that the end of the second quarter. Oh my gosh,
I
Dijonay had
know.
her own little run, and at halftime she said, "How did you guys adjust in that second quarter?" She's like, "I, adjusted to the 11 o'clock game because she's been very known to love her coffee, and there's just it's only so much coffee to wake up. You're playing in the a.m. That is not something
Yeah,
as a professional you're used to." Yeah, so when she said that, Connecticut woke up, and it wasn't even the second quarter. It was like the last 4 minutes because we had a lead, and then they just like punched us right back to get
yeah,
down by one. Um, and Bree Jones, oh man, all star. That woman is back. I would like to know how anyone moves her anywhere when she gets her feet set in the lane. How do you move Bree Jones? Is this a tag team? Like I'm thinking about like Aaliyah
yes,
Boston said earlier years how much she can deadlift. So do we need to have Thornton and JJ push her around, and then Alyssa Thomas will get in that party, and then I'm scared. I'm scared to be in the middle of that because again, I talk about how these women could crush me. That is a scary bunch to be pushed against. And then I'm thinking like Tiara McCowan and Kalani Brown for Dallas. Like who like I, if you're in between that, how much these women are so strong that if you need, when they say like you need, big strong men to like move something, no, you don't. You just need the WNBA post players. That's all you need.
yeah,
So
literally,
yeah,
literally.
Bree Jones today, 17 points, 8 rebounds, just controlled the paint at the end of that first half. So happy she's back and has an All Star appearance again. This is what makes Connecticut scarier this year than last year's because they got Bree Jones back.
Yep, yep, exactly. And this was an exciting matchup to watch. We had Bree Jones on Jonquil Jones. I sometimes laugh to myself when I'm watching because when you watch the Sun play, you know that's going to be the matchup, and then the commentators are just like, "Oh, Jones with the shot. Oh, and Jones with the rebound," and you're just like, "Oh, she's doing so well," and then you're like, "Oh, no,
No, no, no.
actually, you're talking about the other one."
Yeah.
But yeah, so this is a very interesting matchup because these two used to be teammates at Connecticut. Brianna Jones being the 2021 Most Improved Player, the same year that John Quell was the MVP. So they were a duo. They worked so well together, and I just find it so interesting to see this matchup and know they're playing against each other and they know each other's games better
Yeah.
than most people on the court do. Um, so yeah, it was just fun to watch. I feel like John Quell had starting to kind of pick up again from a couple like not great games. I thought still like you could see she was frustrated that game, and I think it's understandable when you have someone like Bree marking you and playing against your old team who know exactly how you play, you know exactly how you're gonna move. You could see that she was getting frustrated, but still a good game. I'm pretty 11 rebounds, 3 assists, 8 points. I think coming back off what's been a frustrating few games for her, she was looking good today.
And she just didn't get as many shots. She was 4 of 8 from the floor, and then 0 of 3 from 3 point line. So 4 of 5 from close. So she didn't get as many shots. And I think it's interesting because Connecticut usually doesn't do well against John Quell. Usually she owns them. So today was in the reverse. The other player for Connecticut that I just want to say is last game, Joanna Bonner hit 7 threes. And then she was the one that I'm like, is she going to get us or not? Because she hit a 3 and she hit a long 2 in the fourth quarter, ended up going 3 for 5 from 3-point land and 7 of 7 from the free throw line, even though other than that, she was only 3 of 11 shooting besides the 3-point line. And one of those was that long 2. But Joanna had 22 points. And I have a weird thought about, like, because I think this is interesting about uniforms because so many people are wearing like their little cap sleeves, like white cap sleeves with their colored jerseys. Joanna is wearing blue like pants under her shorts to go with the Connecticut uniform, and then wore like a black long sleeve shirt. Do we not have a navy blue long sleeve shirt to match? Like, I just was like, these are two different colors, right? I wasn't losing it, and they are
Oh,
because then
I
they
didn't
chose.
notice that.
I did, and this is where, as my official in high school officiating, you have to either have white, black, or your team's color. But
Mhm.
then Tiffany Mitchell's wearing an arm sleeve that's navy blue, so I would think that you could wear a navy blue shirt. So why isn't there a navy blue shirt? I just want to see that. I just want to see the coordination. You know,
Yeah,
let's get the like
I
we have the tunnel fits. Let's get the game day fits. Oh, nice.
yeah. Yeah,
Random
I
thoughts.
I see your point. I didn't even notice that she had, a different color on, but I do think it's cool. I like to see the coordination. It's something that we have tried to implement in Scotland, and unfortunately, we don't have the facilities for that, believe it or not. Um, so I like to see that, and I did notice today in the game, I was like, I like that they're looking concise with, like, the navy, like, undershorts and the navy,
Yeah,
like, kit, but I did not pick up on
it's
the one
black.
bar.
It was
But
a black long sleeve shirt. Yep.
I must say, though, she must be boiling. She must be so warm.
I think.
It's
I mean, with her frame, I feel like she's wearing the pants and the shirt just to get like any extra like padding because if anyone
yeah.
runs into her like. But I still don't understand. She is so resilient because that is such a thin frame and has been one of the greatest players ever in the W and doesn't really get hurt and has had twins. I'm always going to come back to that. So she's always impressive. But I'm like, I think she wears that just to like have some padding, just like the thin padding. She's good to go, and
Very
she's tough as nails. Um, but yeah, but I pay attention to game like what they're wearing during the game as opposed to game day fits. When I talked about how Steph Dolson last year looked like a tap dancer with like black
Yeah.
and white socks. It's just like that. I'm like, come on, get it together. And I'm a person that did not have any sense when I played because my socks in my uniform game was hideous. It was original, but it was hideous. Um, it was hideous. All right, so Liberty. I love how this is going to be a fun one, just talking about random things. Liberty today. Stewie only shot one 3-pointer, was 5 of 9 from the floor, but was 8 of 10 from the free throw line. So she did shoot more, but she was fouled on those. Had 18 points, 14 boards. JJ had 11 rebounds, and you said 8 points. So 25 rebounds as opposed to the other day when they only had 18 combined. I'm saying that like 18, like that's a bad number. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's not a bad number. Liberty got out rebounded by 2 today, but 22 assists, 9 turnovers, and the Sun had 19 assists and 9 turnovers. It was a very even game. But as much as Sabrina and Stewie got like players of the game for the Liberty, and we'll get to how good Sabrina's game was and staying in it because yeah, staying in it. I was so happy with Sloot, and she had the most plus minus of anyone today. Had 11 on the plus minus, had 11 points, had 1 block, and that was a really good block. We had 2 guard blocks today. 1 block, 1 steal. Uh, so here we go. Yeah, 1 block, 3 assists. I messed up, and that was Sabrina had 1 steal. 3 assists, and shot 5 of 11 from the floor, hit a 3. But as you always say, you want to see her shoot when she gets in the lane. She had a couple of times where she had some really good layups and just went at it and didn't really stop in the lane and looked like she was enjoying herself out there, which is something that we want to see, not just because that will make the Liberty better, but we want to see, just to see her enjoying basketball again because of the hard time that she's been going through. So, Sloot, 34 minutes, 11 points. I'm very happy.
Yeah, agreed. And you took the words right out of my mouth. I was gonna make that point about how I always mention Courtney Vandersloot. She will drive down the lane and then she'll stop and then she'll look to pass out and I'm always just like, just shoot the ball, just score the layup. And I understand she's there to more so be the facilitator and to kind of start the movement of the ball. But I was so glad to see that today, just being more aggressive, going to the basket and just being like, I can take you, I can cross you and beat you on that step. I'm small, I'm fast. Yeah, good points from her. Nice to see her score 3 as well. And just like you say, you just see her smiling all through that game, and whenever the team was going for timeouts, just like dapping everyone up. She looked in really good spirits, so it is really really nice to see. 100%, yeah. So good game from Sloot. Again, good game from Jones, Stewie. Incredible game. There was times where she was taken off briefly. I mean, she played 34 minutes, and I was just sitting like, just put her back on, just put
Yeah.
Sue back on because she just looked good today, and I think they did kind of struggle to match up to her on defense.
And they took 42 threes against Indiana. Actually, I'm going to say another point. There is one thing that I'm very upset about. They only had one offensive rebound today. One.
Yeah,
Not
that's
good.
tough. Yeah, not
Yes,
good.
that is not good. And it was just Stewie's. I mean, Connecticut had 7, but one offensive rebound. But this is the improvement, and this is why they're a mature, like older veteran team. They only shot 13 threes today, as opposed to 42 against Indiana. And again, didn't shoot well at all. 3 of 13.
Yeah,
But they knew what they needed to do. So you take away that they were 25 of 44 from the floor. That is an excellent percentage. That is literally just over, I think it's like 57% from 2. That is a mature team figuring out what to do, which will work to win the game. So I'm very happy with that. And I'm very happy with Sabrina was 4 of 13 against Indiana, was 1 of 3 from 3 today. So 1 of 3 from 3, was 7 of 12 from the floor, and made a tough bucket at the end after missing a layup because we missed like 4 layups in this game. And I was like, what is happening? She missed a layup and then made a tough shot with 4 seconds left with a 1-point lead and took the shot clock all the way down. And who was guarding her? Alyssa Thomas. And beat her and strongly finished, kept her head, and did it. I'm like, that's my girl. That's my girl. I literally have her name on the back of this shirt. That's my girl. Good job. That's
my
how we
girl.
end the game. And then she didn't even just end the game with that shot. They got the inbound, and she got a block on Ty Harris's potential game-tying 3. And with no space between her, there was no way this was going to be a foul. Another guard with another block. What?
Yeah. What? Yeah. It was see when she went and scored that first layup because she, like we said, she's been a lot more aggressive from 2 in recent games, going more for the floaters, layups, and some of those like crazy finishes you talked about. A lot of them weren't dropping today. She was going up for a lot of contact shots and trying to finish, and they just weren't dropping. And when she went for that layup when we were 69-68 and she missed it, I was like, no. I was like, that's game. That's it. They're gonna take it and they're gonna score. That
Yep.
was my head. I was like, that's it. And no, they recovered, they came back, a clutch shot from Sabrina, and then the block. Just to put the icing on the cake. The block. It was
Yes.
incredible. And I just think when you block someone from 3, it's just so much more impressive because when someone's pulling up from 3, you're not in their face unless you're Caitlin Clark. You're not in their face. So to be able to block a 3 is just like incredible. And you see in the play, it's not even her player. She's marking someone else. There's a little screen set up, and the way she just reads it, she sees the ball. She knows how much time's left on the clock, and she's like, "Forget my guy. I'm going for this," and she just runs hand in the air, just gets a touch on it, blocks a shot, and it's just like it's such a great way to finish the game.
Yes.
Yeah, just like it was a nice game for Sabrina.
Yeah. And she blocked it right in literally to her own bench. So
Yeah,
that it was going right to her bench, and it's like, yep, we're celebrating.
we're
And
done.
we're done. Woo, we got it. Yep, 2-0. And not only that, Stewie had a couple blocks at the end of the game that were just, as you would say, chef's kiss. I've seen you do that where
Yeah,
just there
chef's
it is.
kiss.
Chef's kiss. So as much as they had like little ebbs and flows and only scored 12 points in the fourth quarter, scored 10 points in the second quarter, only scored 12 points. Defensively, you only allowed 14. And I thought that at the end of the third quarter when it was 57-54, because I was like, we're holding Connecticut to 54 points. Like I was like, this is kind of like Minnesota. It's like, we're coming, Minnesota. But we only scored 57. We score more, but I'm like, Connecticut's really good defensively, but we're doing just as well. 54 points. And so, winning, if you had told me that we only scored 71 points, I would have thought we would have lost. But
Yeah.
71-68, we need to score. Yeah, we need to score. This is 2 games in a row in the 70s. We're playing the Sky tomorrow night at Barclays, and then at a game that I will be at on Saturday in Chicago. Go play the Sky in Chicago, and then turn around and play the Sun. So it does not get any easier. Chicago just won today. They beat Atlanta. They finished them off at the end of the game. So we've got 3 games before the Olympic break and before our next podcast. What do you have for going into this against the Sky and the Sun?
Oh,
Rec-
I'm I've stuck to my guns the entirety of the podcast this season, and I've been very positive, very supportive of our lips. Oh, I think I think oh, I really don't want to say this. I have a feeling we're gonna win one against the Sky and we're gonna lose the other. I have a feeling.
Don't say, because if we do lose one, I mean, it would be the one that I'm at, so I don't like you right now. This is where we each get
Yeah.
technicals and get ejected for fighting because I
Yeah.
will slap you across the face if we're near each other. Being the
But
mature but mature older person and you being the kid, you
yeah.
got to me with that. I just slapped you across the face. Maybe I'm just the only one ejected. Yeah.
Um, yeah, I hate to say it, but I really think with the game being so close together, I think Connecticut have a good shot at beating us, and I think our shot at beating them is if we lose to this guy, we get a
Mhm.
kick up the backside, and we're like, right, we're coming in with a vengeance, chip on our shoulder. We're gonna finish at this Olympic break on a win after losing to this guy. We have to make up for it. I feel like there's gonna be one loss to this guy, and then we're gonna beat Connecticut.
And especially because there's 2 games at Barclays, and
Yeah.
the one that is not at Barclays is the one that I'm gonna be at. I'm gonna reverse this, and I'm gonna be the positive Patty in this one, okay?
Oh, okay.
Scotland, I'm gonna say they're going 3-0 this week. I'm gonna say they're gonna end and go into this Olympic break on a high, but the way that they do that is, in my mind, is if they get Benijah back, because Benijah didn't play today because her knee was puffy, but also, I don't want Benijah to play if her knee's puffy. We can take a few losses this week, and we can win without Benijah. I mean, just beat the Sun without Benijah. We could win all these games without her. It's gonna be tough. It's 3 games. I mean, it's literally 4 games in a week though, because played today and then the next 3 are within the week. So 4 games in 7 days. Even though one's in Connecticut and 2 are at home, so it's not like a lot of travel. So it sucks how the travel goes. Home, Chicago, back home.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I'm gonna say they're gonna go 3-0 this week. And if I want Benijah's knee to be good, so I don't know if she's gonna sit some more, because if she sits for these 3 games, we're gonna be okay. Sloot is not Benijah, but Sloot had a good game today, so I feel like she's gonna be on the uptake. And then Benijah's knee can heal over Olympic break. That's gonna be great for her, and it's also gonna be great for Sloot to get back in the flow of things and to hang out with the team that isn't gonna be in Paris. and then also going to be good for her to hang out with family so they can, do what they need to do in this tough time for them. But I'm gonna
Yeah.
say 3-0 this week. I mean, I know at least
Okay.
they're gonna get 2 wins. We're gonna go into this break with 20 wins, but yeah, if
Yeah.
they lose, and I don't want them to lose at home. I don't want them to lose at all, but I don't want them to lose when I'm there. And they barely won last year against Dallas when I was
Yeah.
there, so it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be interesting. I
We're
want to
sending
see.
good vibes.
I mean, I would really like to see Angels double streak end when I'm there. Like, You know?
Okay.
Those are interesting things that I kind of like. Like, I saw the greatest double streak ever known to women or men's sports. What was that, 122 games in a row that Courtney Paris at Oklahoma had? 122
Damn.
games, I think, a row
Oh
of
my god.
doubles. No one will ever match that streak. Um, and her team won. I wanted to see her team lose because if her team would have lost, I would have been at Pat Summitt's 1,000th win. Um, but I did see history because I saw the double streak end, but I was yeah, yep,
Oh, that's
122 in
class.
a row. Oh gosh, yeah, you didn't know about that streak, did you?
No, I did not. I did not.
It was,
I'm glad you're
it
sharing this
was
information.
yeah, Marty, that one was for you. 2009 at Oklahoma City because they moved it to a bigger venue, and double streak came to an end. Pat had her first attempt at 1,000, didn't win it, but she did win it in the next game in Knoxville. And as Marty said, she should have won it at home. I was like, Pat wouldn't have cared where she won it. She just wants to win all the games, but
Yeah.
she did get it at home. But yeah, that's the greatest double streak that I will never be alive to see. No, I if that gets beat, that person is an extremely special player. And as I have said another time, if a woman sets a record, then it shouldn't be in men's or women's. It should be in women's or men's. So in women's or men's basketball, no one will ever have a
Yeah.
double streak. 122 games. I'm gonna get that correct next game or next podcast game. This is our game.
This is
Next
our
podcast.
game.
Exactly how many games in a row it was. I want to say 122, but yeah, it's definitely
Okay.
100. Yeah, I'm gonna say 122. Courtney Paris, got to meet her. Another woman that I don't know how anyone would ever move out of the paint. So there you go. She's an assistant coach for the Dallas Wings, played for Seattle. So there's a little background if you don't know who Courtney Paris is. Look it up. Look it up.
Get up.
All right. So look it up. Look it up. All right. So 1-1 this week. I was right. Just chose the wrong game to be right about. And Caitlin Clark hits history with first rookie triple double ever. The Libs lose, unfortunately, and now we've got Chicago to see another rookie to see if she can keep this double streak going. She got it today, so is it 13 in a row? I think maybe 14, and she's playing Libs tomorrow night on Thursday. This is Wednesday. We're recording this, and then playing on Saturday. The Libs will play Connecticut on Tuesday. It's going to be a busy week. So, last
Busy
question for
week.
you. Last
Yes.
question for you.
I'm ready.
She hit a triple double. Angel's got her double streak. Who, because last time I believe you said Angel was your rookie of the year. Is Angel still your rookie of the year?
Oh, um, ah, I really, I really don't know. I've been thrown, and I have been thinking about this all week since I spoke last week on the podcast. Um, I, it's so tough. I think I'm gonna think of it in more of like a contextual basis as well, in that Chicago as a team, I do just think has a little bit more depth. Um, I think they're more experienced. There's more experienced players on the team, and I think it's more impressive for Caitlin Clark to have come in and performed as well as she has on a team that is less experienced. And I know it creates for more space for her then to perform better. That's very true. But I do just think Angel has had more backing from her team to perform well. So but it's slim though. It's not I'm not overwhelmingly saying that like Angel, she's on a much better team and of course she's gonna be performing better. No. But I think I've kinda thought about it and then after watching that game against the Libs, I was just like if you can play like that against the
Yeah.
Libs, damn. You know?
Yeah. She
So
only
I
had
don't
four
know.
turnovers. 4 turnovers that
Yeah.
game, and I know she's averaging over 6. So if she can somehow get her turnovers to be under 6 on average, it's they do 2 wildly different things. But what you're saying,
Mhm.
very in agreement with. Indiana hasn't made the playoffs since I think 2016.
Yeah.
Chicago's made the playoffs the past what 4 years, and I know it's a way different team than it was last
Yeah.
year, but they were still the 8 seed because like Copper's gone, it's changed. They have new coaching, but before that they had a standard. Indiana is just in total rebuild mode, so it is. I feel like Caitlin's job is a little more difficult, but it doesn't
Mhm.
mean that Angel isn't throwing up a rookie of the year. I mean, because they're both rookie of the year, they're both all stars. This is one of those where everybody talks about how slim it is. I wish the media could get together and figure out a way to split votes so it could be co-rookies of the year. Like, but
Yeah.
that's not how things happen in sports, because it's going to be one of those where it's going to be like, everybody's going to argue either way. But I do love that when people are talking about this, they're showing up both sides about how different it is. It may be one of the best comparisons between these two that is not rooted in hate, I would say, about how much they're respecting each what the other one is doing and how different it is. So I feel like this has been such a better conversation about their accomplishments, because it's not about them against each other. It's about how their accomplishments are, and
Mhm.
everybody's given the edge. So I've really kind of enjoyed the actual dialogue about how good they're each doing instead of like them
Yeah.
attacking each other. And so it's more of a celebration of how great they both are instead of like, well, and whatever stupid thing that someone's going to say about it.
Yeah.
That has been my
100%.
favorite thing about the conversation.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's also just nice because I do think that Caitlin Clark has dominated the media, deservingly so.
Mhm.
And there has been this kind of narrative that Angel's like the villain, she's this and she's that. And it is nice to kind of see her getting her flowers now and getting positive media attention, because I mean, we all saw Angel, Caitlyn, like last season, and everyone has their own opinions on it. But I just think at the end of the day, like it's basketball. There's always
Yeah,
going to be players that are gonna, stone cold, not show emotion, and there's gonna be players that are wanting to kind of get under your skin. That's just the sport, and it doesn't make them a bad person, or it doesn't like deserve them then to get hate for it. So it's just really, really nice and refreshing to see the narrative is kind of changing and that she is just getting the positive attention that she very much deserves.
yeah. It's just really good. And hey, guess what? They both have a win against the Libs. It's a very weird thing to say. They both
Yeah.
do. So,
Yeah.
well, I mean, but Angel's going to have a chance to get another one. She's got a couple chances now because they're 1-1. So Caitlin's only got one, even though, man, the Fever, even though they lost today to the Mystics,
Yeah.
they've been a completely different team after they weren't just steamrolled with the worst schedule on the planet. Um, so we'll see what happens. We'll see if, and I said last time, we'll see who makes the playoffs, and if the Fever can get the win against Chicago in the next game, they'll be 3-1 against Chicago because they're 2-1, and they should have been 3-0, but they blew it because Angel was like, "I'm gonna get the ball, I'm gonna score." So we're gonna see. It's
We're gonna see.
we're gonna see. I think I actually I don't even know if I switched to go. I gave it a slight edge to Caitlin, but losing to the Mystics today after coming off a high, we got to get a little bit more. Everybody needs to get maturity on that from the Fever to make sure you get the win against the Mystics. It was a close loss, but I think I'm gonna flip flop. I think I'm gonna take Angel on this one right now. She's got the double
Okay.
streak. I'm gonna
There's
do
lots
that.
of flip flopping going on in this episode.
Let's flip flop. Let's flip flop. There we
Let's
go.
flip flop.
Let's flip flop. All right. So I say they're going to go 3-0 this week. Kirsten says that I'm going to see them lose, which is just a hateful thing to say. There's the but it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. I mean, you're going to see Team USA win when you get to go see
Yeah.
them for the Olympic break. But yeah,
Yeah.
so
Indeed.
we'll see. We'll see what happens going into the Olympic break. As of right now, the Libs are in first place by themselves,
Woo!
18-4, and we're just excited for what the rest of the year brings. And we will see you guys all next week. So for Across the Pond Liberty. I'm Stacia.
And I'm Kirstin. See
Have
you
a great
guys
week.
next week.